Hello everyone, and welcome to ShadowCast. I am your host, Rob Dyke, here with my co-host, Cayliegh Elise.
I'm here.
And we are going to be discussing Mothman and what be. Now, I know that we were supposed to have this episode, as I stated the last episode, we were supposed to be interviewing someone who dated a serial killer. We are pushing that to next week or possibly the week after. We're just making sure that all equipment is in order. And this is going to be the best possible experience for you guys, so it came up kind of quick. So we're just going to do this in the meantime, because we have a lot to say about Mothman, don't we?
We sure do. It's a fucking lot
because
to say.
You've recently done a video on him. I've never covered him, but I guess you could call it studied him.
Yeah, you seem to have researched him quite a bit.
Yeah, as lame as that sounds, but I have Mothman's one cool man moth, and yeah, so we're gonna jump into that. But first, we have This Week in Weird with Cayliegh Elise. She is going to introduce three, and she's just gonna lay them out for us. So Cayliegh, hit us.
Got some weird ones for you today, Rob. Are you ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
All right, our first headline reads, "The body of a woman and 2 live monkeys is found in a Florida hotel room." Because Florida.
Okay, so that automatically makes sense. It's Florida. Yes. Living monkeys?
Yes, 2 live monkeys. Here's what happened. The body of a 59-year-old woman, her name was Linda Marie Smith, was found dead in a hotel room with 2 live capuchin monkeys. The monkeys were in carriers when the police arrived. However, there was also a man in the room with the woman. He was alive, but apparently incoherent. The man hasn't been identified, and while the autopsy is pending, it doesn't appear that there was any sign of trauma to the woman's body. The monkeys will likely go to someone licensed to own a capuchin monkey as an exotic pet, because why not?
Okay, so that's confusing. That's confusing. That's really confusing. Just so the audience knows, Cayliegh finds these, and I do not get to know them before they're laid on me right now. And so, I guess it's just a matter of time before someone's found. And so, I guess it's just a matter of time before someone's found in a hotel room with 2 live monkeys dead. And a man who's in
no idea what's going on,
who's sitting in the corner wondering what microwaves do.
That's pretty much how it was described.
All right, perfect.
Because Florida.
Yeah, because Florida. Why not?
Sorry, Floridians.
Yeah, sorry, Floridians. Your 2 monkeys to a hotel room with dead women and incoherent men days are over. We're not standing for that anymore. All right, what do you got next on your list here?
This one's really interesting, and wife crashes her own funeral, horrifying her husband who had paid to have her killed.
Oh, was that planned or something? Was that oh, what's up, bitch? I'm still alive kind of a thing?
Actually, it kind of was. So here's what happened. This lady named Noelle Racundo, I'm probably making sure her husband was the first to see her when she arrived. He was terrified, and he apparently didn't really think she was there. He touched her shoulder and started screaming and apologizing for paying to have her killed. And what happened was she was kidnapped while they were attending a funeral in Burundi. He had her kidnapped. Her kidnappers told her that her husband paid to have her killed. And she didn't believe them, and they realized that she hadn't really done anything. He was just an asshole. So they let her go, gave her the recordings of their phone conversations with him, and the receipts for the 7,000 Australian dollars he paid to have her killed.
Wow, that is cheap. He should have known better.
Yeah, and she contacted, I believe it was their local priest or something, where she knew the funeral was going to be held, and being like, "Keep it a secret. It's going to be a really big surprise. It's going to be fun. I'm going to show up." "Keep it a secret. It's going to be a really big surprise. It's going to be fun. I'm going to show up."
It's a practical joke.
Yeah.
Wait till you see the look on his face. Wow. So she just... what a badass.
Yeah, right? She said she felt like she was rising again.
Yeah, that's like playing Russian roulette and winning.
Rising again.
Yeah, that's like playing Russian roulette and winning.
It's so like her kidnappers let her go.
Right? Yeah, that's not supposed to happen. And then they forfeit the money, obviously, or maybe they kept it. Or
no, they kept it.
But even so, now that it's in the news, it's involving police, right? So they've got to get. I mean, unless she's not going to.
She later got him to confess over a phone conversation that was being recorded by the police, and he pled guilty and is being sentenced to 9 years in prison for incitement to murder. And these two have 8 children together, and now should be raising them alone, but also not with a man who wants her dead. So.
Right, so that's a win, honestly. As much
and he's completely untrue, and he had like a very violent past, and so
she was still with him even after he tried to kill her.
Yep.
She still showed up to the party he threw.
Mm-hmm. Big party.
How do you mess that? Like, how do you not have any idea that the casket's empty? Or was there a casket? Maybe. Oh, or is she supposed to
disappeared, and the kidnappers confirmed to him that they had killed her when they hadn't. So they kind of helped her with this.
So did the general public know that she had been kidnapped and murdered or something like that?
I think all he told them was that she had disappeared and that no one had any idea where she was.
So let's throw a funeral for her because clearly she's dead. Just really taking the forefront there and hold down the fort. All right.
Outstanding.
That's interesting. That's great. That's fantastic. What a weird little. That's so cool how she showed up though. That's great. So what's the last one? Hit us with the last one before we jump into Mothman and all of his moth dust glory.
I apologize to Floridians again because this did happen in Florida. I didn't plan this. It just happened.
This isn't your fault. You didn't do this.
I didn't do this. Okay. Last one is Bikini Granny busted again. There is an infamous Bikini Grandma, she has been dubbed, who was stopped by the police after she slammed her B&W into the back of a Mustang at a traffic light. Her name was Patricia Ebel. The police smelled liquor, and her 10-year-old grandson was in the car with her. Now, the report kind of made it sound like it was just like a tap, but I saw a picture of the car, and it was almost like the front end of it had been crunched. Almost completely. Very accordion-like. And she was driving drunk with her 10-year-old grandson in the back, and it was just casually mentioned. What they focused on was the fact that there is a video of her failing the sobriety test wearing skimpy swimwear, which is where she gets the name Bikini Grandma. And a judge ordered her to refrain from drinking for 1 year, and she failed to do that. So she's been arrested again.
So how old is she?
50. She's only 50.
Oh, okay. So, all right. So that could be, like smooth.
You're, like, thinking in terms of, like, well, how does it look?
Okay. How offensive is this grandma in the bikini? Like, how offensive to the eyes? Like, and of course I'm going to get shit for that because people are like, hey,
honestly,
age is beautiful.
After seeing the video, if I look like that when I'm 50, I will be very happy.
She's a good-looking grandma. Young, but she's, just...
incredibly irresponsible.
But she's still a grandma in a bikini, bumping into people and being an alcoholic.
With her 10-year-old grandson in the car.
Right. So that's... I think the grandson poses the biggest problem here. I object to your grandson being in the vehicle during...
In a bikini.
In a bikini, like...
Oh my
yeah,
God.
This is disturbing. I mean, like...
Just the more you think about it, the weirder it gets.
Right, yeah, because your grandson's in the car with you, you're pissed drunk, and you're wearing a bikini, and
it was at nighttime, I believe, so where was she going?
Yeah, where were you... And what were you going to do with the... Where was the kid going to end up besides staying in the back seat while she...
Stay here. Grandma's got some friends to meet.
Grandma's got a few things to take care of. All right. As I know she's 50, but of course I have to make her sound like in her 80s and smoking for the past 85 to make her sound like in her 80s and smoking for the past 85
She kind of did sound like that. They asked her if she knew why she was going to jail, and she was like, no. And they asked her again, do you know why you're going to jail? No.
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 This is bullshit.
No.
That's fantastic. Good to know that there are some bikini-clad grandmas out there. Who are just taking it to the limit. They don't let their age stop them.
Oh, yeah. That's the kind of grandma I want to be if I'm going to fucking be a grandma.
Aside from the drunk driving in the kid
Oh,
in the
yeah.
car.
I meant the bikini part.
Right, yeah, the bikini part. Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Perfect. Me too. I'd love to be that type of grandma also. So, to Mothman now... Now, Cayliegh just did a video recently on Mothman and Goatmen on your channel.
Goatman.
Very creepy creatures. The Goatmen are more outwardly violent. We might talk about them in another episode, so we won't go too far into that at all.
Yeah.
But very, pretty well-known movie out there called The Mothman Prophecies, which is based on a book. This is starring Richard Gere.
Yeah.
So now that's based on a book written by a man named John Keel called The Mothman Prophecies. Same title. And it was his around I don't think he was intending to, but he was driving around and ended up in Point Pleasant, West Virginia around this time of this Mothman appearance. So, Cayliegh, explain to us a little bit, because you have the freshest take on this. Your mind is fresh as a mind. I don't know why I was so descriptive about that. But tell us a little bit about Mothman. Tell us what happened. What is Mothman for those people who don't yet know, and for those people who do know, a little bit of a refresher. Why should we care?
Okay, so Mothman, this kind of started in November of 1966 in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, which is a neighboring town. Several sightings of this creature that was described as gray or black, depending on the person, had red reflective eyes, kind of like a bicycle reflector, dark wings. It walked with an awkward shuffle, was able to fly extremely fast in the air, up to 100 miles per hour. Person had red reflective eyes, kind of like a bicycle reflector, dark wings. It walked with an awkward shuffle, was able to fly extremely fast in the air, up to 100 miles per hour with ease. Incapable of human speech, but it did emit high-pitched screams. It has no neck, anywhere from 6.5 feet to 10 feet. That's kind of the description of this thing. And the first sighting of it was by two married couples who went to an abandoned TNT storage area that was used in World War II. I believe it was the Scarberry couple and the Mallet couple, and they were just going there for some fun, like you do when you go to a band wedding. That same night by 5 men who were in a graveyard digging a grave. And I believe that same night there was a sighting by a man named Newell Partridge in the next town over, who ultimately actually lost his dog because of the sighting.
Right.
Yeah, and the people that made the report saw a dead dog on the side of the road, and Newell Partridge kind of assumed that it was his dog once he heard about it in the news. And then 13 months later, to the first day that the Mothman was seen, the Silver Bridge collapsed in Point Pleasant, and a lot of people attribute the Mothman to that in some way.
Yeah, that's pretty intense series of events. There was a lot of
so many sightings within a year.
Yeah, so many sightings all at one point, all from different areas. So people go, "Is that an elaborate hoax?"
Yep.
So people go, "Is that an elaborate hoax?"
Yeah.
Yeah. No
so many surrounding areas within, and that's just the first night. Throughout the whole year, John Keel chronicled so many sightings from so many different people.
Right, because after the Point Pleasant event, which lasted 13 months, like to the day.
Yeah, to the day. It was 13 months exactly later.
November 15th, 1966 to December 15th, 1967. That's when, and correct me if I'm wrong, but he hasn't been spotted in Point Pleasant whatsoever ever again.
I don't believe so. No, I think people
whatsoever ever again.
I don't believe so. No, I think people still talk about it.
Oh yeah, in Point Pleasant sure. They have statues and all this kind of stuff.
They were told, I believe, by someone who was I don't remember quite who it was. I think it was someone who had to do something with the Mothman Prophecies movie. They were like, "You guys should capitalize on this." Still do. And the town's still around. They thrive because of it. So I mean, in that way it's helped them, but it's kind of still terrifying for the people who experienced it.
Now, in the movie it was portrayed that people who witnessed Mothman would begin to experience ear and eye, which is kind of, I don't know, how do you explain that? I think people associate it with like a concussion almost, or air pressure just suddenly making a drastic shift.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, so that was the thing that was reported. That was portrayed in the movie, at least. I'm not sure exactly the validity of that.
I don't think of the women from the original two married couples that had the first sighting. She had serious, like, almost post-traumatic symptoms after that, and she wasn't dealing with it very well for years and years after.
Right.
But as far as I know, no bleeding.
Silver Bridge goes down.
Yeah. 37 people, or 37 cars go down. 46 people die, but only 44 bodies are recovered. Pretty terrible tragedy.
And that was on December 15th, 1967, the last point where anyone claimed to have seen this unidentified cryptid, or whatever you want to refer to it as. 10-foot wingspan. I mean, this is something that's hard to to mistake. You know what I mean? Like, oh, that could have been, it could have been a, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, oh, that could have been, it could have been a, whatever animal might have a 10-foot wingspan in West Virginia. So, but yeah, people claimed before the collapse of the Silver Bridge to have seen him around the Silver Bridge. It also gives rise to the idea that Mothman appears. It also gives rise to the idea that Mothman appears in places before tremendous things are going to happen, usually tragedies. Now that is something also kind of portrayed in the film as well. They have it like in newspapers and all this kind of stuff. So like people dying in planes and all this kind of stuff. And Mothman had something to do with it. So people kind of associate him as an ill omen. Yeah,
someone chronicled all of the deaths that they thought, like, of people who had witnessed the Mothman, the deaths of people, of loved ones of those people. And around the time of the movie's release, there were Mothman or were relatives of someone who had, just in the time, around the time that the movie was coming out. So that's, goes with the omen thing.
Right. Okay. So, yeah. So we have at least, around 100 people that saw Mothman, who witnessed Mothman themselves. And there were many more that claimed to be afraid to report their sightings. But they claim that they did observe something terrible.
And John Keel has been the guy who chronicled all of these experiences. He's reported several times vocally. He has never written it down, but it's been passed down. The sort of Men in Black experience. He said he was visited by 3 men who were very otherworldly. He said they came into his house and were drinking like Clorox bleach while they were talking to him and displayed inhuman powers or whatever, and told him to stop talking about it, basically.
Right.
But that's kind of strange.
That's a whole nother thing. That is... some people have claimed that when they report a UFO sighting to police, that they are occasionally visited by men in black suits, driving like old Lincolns or whatever, black cars, and they speak in very like a monotone, kind of a lifeless, expressionless way, and they are just told that they need to be quiet, and these people are very like inhuman seeming, but they pass. That's obviously a claim by a number of people.
And that kind of leads to the
that's obviously a claim by a number of people.
And that kind of leads to the theory that maybe some people believe has something to do with aliens. There was also some lights in the skies associated around that time with the Mothman, so they thought maybe he was an alien being. Another theory, again with the hoax. Some people thought it was like an angel or demonic being. There is a bird sanctuary right next to that abandoned TNT place. So some of the wildlife conservationists, there you go, were claiming that it was possibly a hill crane, which can get pretty big. And I think at least the barred owl has that red reflective eye. And then
it's creepy.
There's also the idea that it was like radioactive dump there done in World War II, and it was kind of altered the species around there and created this being or something. You brought up that it was a theory.
It's not mine.
No, it's not yours.
So let me explain something, obviously, which is an important thing to note on these podcasts, is Cayliegh and I do not necessarily believe what, like, anything we expand upon.
Yes.
It doesn't mean it reflects our views. We are just talking about it. If we believe something or we don't believe something, if we so choose, doesn't mean we need to. We're just here to kind of talk about it and start the discussion about it and let you guys really listen in, tune in, and just kind of chill yourselves out a little bit over these incredible phenomena that happen and can't typically be explained. We know for a fact, we don't know if Mothman, we do know for a fact that there was a pretty big commotion between the end of 1966 and the end of 1967 that in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. We know that numerous people did claim to see something. We don't know what it was. We don't know if it was a bird or, I mean, it just seems like something. We don't know what it was. We don't know if it was a bird or, I mean, it just seems like birds that typically live around there all of a sudden one night or they start like freaking everyone out. Or one long period
of time people start noticing.
Right, now all of a sudden people care.
I meant, by your theory, I meant it was one that hadn't been presented to me and you brought it to the table.
Correct.
That is what I meant.
Right. So yeah, so everyone knows this is nothing I developed.
Yeah.
But I did read John Keel's book, The Mothman Prophecies, years ago. He claimed that when he started driving, he was supposed to end up somewhere else. He's driving for a few hours, and all of a sudden he's in Point Pleasant, and there's no possible way he could have made it to Point Pleasant in the amount of time he was driving. And plus, he wasn't even trying to go there anyway. So, like, imagine yourself leaving your house. Okay, I've got a 2-hour drive to get to this meeting I'm supposed to be. And so you're driving for 2 hours, and all of a sudden you end up, like, your car dies or whatever. I believe all of his electronics died. And you end up 7-8 hours away from your house. So that's kind of like the experience he claimed to have. And then that's when he walked up to a man's house, knocked on the door if he could, get some help. And the guy pretty much had a gun in his face and said, "You've been coming here every single night for the past so many nights, however many nights." And, and he was pissed about it. And John Keel goes, "I literally am here for the first time.
Never been here before."
I have never been here before. And this kind of sparks this whole entire thing of Mothman, and it's kind of crazy. And whether you believe it or not is up to you, obviously. But so we've discussed, could be a bird, could be a plane, could be a super early model of a drone. Who knows? It could be anything. Perfectly explained.
Could be a government experiment.
It could be a government experiment. But there's also an idea that we wanted to talk about that John Keel kind of expressed in the book as being a thought form. Now, if you're a fan of Supernatural, the show Supernatural, I have form. Now, if you're a fan of Supernatural, the show Supernatural, I have watched a little bit of it. I haven't even got through the first season because each season is like 800 episodes long.
Yeah.
So it's like, and they're on like season like 59 now, and it's just wow.
So daunting.
I can't. Every time
I
they
literally
just
can't.
I can't even. But you look at, they're like, okay, next new season, and I'm just like, that just makes me want to watch it less because I can't keep up. But that's not what we're talking about here. But there is an episode early on in their show where they have to fight a tulpa, which is known as a thought form. Now, these are to life with the same amount of influence as, say, a ghost, a spirit, a poltergeist, whatever you want to call it. But they're not the remnants of a deceased person. They're actually a creation from a person's mind. So, like, hard enough, and it comes to life. And it starts haunting your house. So, let me explain. Okay, so this author, Walter Gibson, okay, he is back in the 1930s, and he is a writer, okay, obviously an author. That's what that implies. So, he is in New York's Greenwich Village, and he might be living, and he's writing these series of books called The Shadow. Now, The Shadow is the nemesis of evil, and he's this like phantom kind of character with like a cape and a large black hat, and he is stalking around and defeating evil. So he creates this character over the course of quite some time, and it's just like he's like, I believe he was churning out a full-length novel, like each month.
And by creating a character, you mean he was just writing about it?
Right, he was writing about it. He was like creating this, like he was writing. I mean, as a writer does. If anyone's ever written, their own story, they'll understand that you have to have character development. This is exactly what he was doing. So he's doing all this character development, and now he eventually moved out of this place, and now he's been, dead for years. But all of a sudden, people start reporting that for years. But all of a sudden, people start reporting that the place is haunted by this character that resembles the Shadow, which is kind of mind-boggling.
It's crazy.
Yeah, so, like, why? What Shadow showing up? I mean, nobody died that looked like that, apparently. Now, some people tried to chalk it up to the fact, like, this could be a spy from this time, who died in this house, but there are no records of that ever happening. But it does, has a very startling resemblance to the Shadow. So, of what could be believed to be a thought form, someone put so much of themselves into this development of this imaginary character that it almost became a hallucination for the author, and then it became like a real hallucination for other people. It manifested
into something like more corporeal.
Right, into energy, into something tangible that you can, So, that's kind of
and this
crazy.
is from one author. You also mentioned that it can be a collective sort of thing.
Right. There was also, now again, people might not take this, they might take it with a grain of salt, take it with a shaker of salt. I don't care what you do with it, but
take anything with a grain of salt.
We are just talking about it, and I know a lot of people are going to be like, "Come on!" But some people are going to be really into this, and and it's fine if you believe in it. It's because you can't prove it or disprove it. You know what I mean? So it's kind of foolish to write off anyway. It's foolish to full-heartedly believe in something without any evidence, but it's also like foolhardy to dismiss something. Believe in something without any evidence, but it's also like foolhardy to dismiss something without any evidence that indicates that it's false. You know what I mean?
And whether you believe or not, it's super fucking interesting. At least,
right? It's cool.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's chilling.
It's a really neat concept.
Can a human make a character? Chilling.
It's a really neat concept.
Can a human make a character? Can a human create a ghost essentially without killing anyone?
Yeah.
So. Now, this is called the Philip experiment, that this happened in Toronto. But it was in 1972. And it was a group of people. It was in 1972. And it was a group of people led by a mathematician and overseen by a psychologist. And this group created this man named Philip, who was born in the 1600s in England. Had a military career and was knighted in the English Civil War. And he was working as a spy and all these like crazy things. He was unhappily married, and there was this whole like love story, and he fell in love with another woman. And
they created like a whole backstory.
Whole backstory, and for a year they conducted these seances to try to summon. And for like a year, it didn't work. Until eventually they actually like redesigned the area they were conducting these seances in and started doing it more like more typically how seances are conducted. Everyone's around the table, you're holding hands, you're putting your energy together, and they designed the room and dressed the room up to be kind of resemble a castle or whatever. They would have pictures of castles that they'd imagine Philip to have lived in, and other items that might be from that time period. And all of a sudden, things started happening. And they started to be able to communicate with Philip. Philip comes out, and he's rapping on
the table.
Yes or no or anything like that. So he'd also send like breezes over the table and vibrations and echoes, and he could turn the lights on and off, and he could actually move the table itself.
It levitated, didn't it?
Right. At one point, it was said to have levitated. So,
and there's a video of.
You've seen it, correct? Yeah. So, what is your take based on what you've seen?
It's hard to say. I mean, it's old footage, isn't it? You said 1970 what?
Yeah, 1972 is when the whole entire thing was conducted.
I mean, it's really cool to.
Thing was conducted.
I mean, it's really cool to think about, but like, I just don't have, like, something to go off of to say that it deviates from anything.
Right,
because there's not an experiment that's ever been done like this before.
Right, and there's cinematography.
Like, no control.
Involved. It's not just like a straight up king they're watching. I mean, there is cinematography. Yeah. There was a TV show on it, but they were said to bring Philip to a live studio audience of 50 people. And
really?
The table was to levitate, and a bunch of stuff happened. The lights were flickering and stuff, which obviously you can control in any number of ways. It could have just been illusions. But, you know, that they created. Answer questions, apparently. Anything they asked him, like time period questions. You know, what is going on back then at this time? Or what are the politics like at this point? And he was able to answer, but they found out he wasn't able to answer anything that the group didn't already know, like, collectively.
That was beyond the scope of the group's knowledge.
Right. There was nothing he could tell them that not at least one person, like, knew of already. So he was collecting from the knowledge of the group, apparently. Allegedly. So...
That's so interesting to me, because for some reason to me that makes...
allegedly. So...
That's so interesting to me, because for some reason to me that makes it, like, a little bit more scientific.
Right. It's not like... It's more believable that way. It's not like it's obviously bullshit, you know, because he was, you know, he was able to tell us about all these things that we never knew about, and then we could confirm it was limited. His abilities were limited. He could move things, and he could tell you what you already have in your mind, which is kind of scary if you really think about it.
And if he was like this all-knowing separate entity that had knowledge outside of the collective group, that would just be fucking insane. And I don't know that if I'd buy into it more. I just wouldn't believe it as much.
Right. So, you know, this group goes on, and eventually, you know, it ends, and Philip is dispelled. There has been heavily criticized, this, you know, obviously, as most things like this are. But apparently they went on to create more people. Apparently they went on to create more people. The psychologist who oversaw the group concluded that the effects were produced by participants as a subconscious defense mechanism, causing their behavior to regress to a childlike mentality. So he believed they all pretty much became kids, and they were kind of just feeding into their own thing. Kind of like, you know, you use a Ouija board with your friends, and like, I didn't move it, you know, and then you can almost convince yourself, like, even if you moved it, you can convince yourself, maybe I didn't, you know what I mean?
Or if, like, someone tells you about a scary story that they heard that was true, and then the next kid passes it on. But
exactly. So that's the power of suggestion is very powerful. So that's one idea of what Mothman could possibly be. We could also expand on the incredibly eerie George Estabrooks.
Yes.
This individual, Canadian-American psychologist. University graduate. I can't even say the school's name, so I'm not doing it. He was a Rhodes Scholar, and he was an authority on hypnosis. So he was known for hypno-programming U.S. government agents during World War II. So this guy could convince her through hypnosis. That's what he claimed. One quote by him was, "I can hypnotize a man without his knowledge or consent into committing treason against the United States." That is how confident he was with his ability.
That's crazy.
Have you?
That's like.
Go ahead.
That's crazy.
Have you?
That's like.
Go ahead.
That's like me walking up to a stranger and he just says something, but he knows exactly what he's doing. And he's hypnotizing me, and then all of a sudden I just go off and do this thing, whatever.
Yeah, like,
he's that confident.
I don't know. I mean, I've seen hypnosis like shows and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Hypnosis like shows and stuff like that.
Yeah, that is such weird territory for me.
Right. I've seen people. Now, I believe hypnosis is a thing. I believe you can access parts of the person's mind. I believe you can put them under hypnotic suggestion, like a state of hypnotic suggestion.
Or like hypnotherapy with like quitting smoking and stuff.
Correct. Like, do I think it works all the time?
Like hypnotherapy with like quitting smoking and stuff.
Correct. Like, do I think it works all the time? Not necessarily. I don't know. I've never had to do it, but it's just really bizarre because I've seen these kind of shows, and with people I know that are involved, people that are really like kind of like they're the subject of the hypnosis and they end up getting hypnotized. And these aren't these kinds of, it was just weird to like see them like do these weird motions and say these bizarre things, because I was just like, this person is never like this, like never gimmicky kind of like this. So what is going on? You know what I mean? So like they would come to my old high school and perform hypnosis on students. I'm just sitting there and I'm just like, and a hypnotist would come in and people would like, there would be a whole assembly just to watch this guy.
Volunteer?
Yeah, you could volunteer to be one of the people, go up to see your, and some of the students weren't. Some of the students, he would get them up there and you wouldn't be able to really do anything with them. Like I
have heard that some people can't be.
I don't know what I am. Maybe we're all hypnotized. There's a topic for that.
Oh my god, that's a scary thought. What if you're hypnotized right now?
Yeah, maybe our whole life is just hypnosis. Bleh. Bleh. I'm gonna vomit. I'm gonna puke.
I'm gonna vomit.
So this guy, apparently now, he obviously believes in hypnosis. And he wrote a book called Hypnotism. Now, he explained in Hypnotism that the power of thought forms. So he went on to claim in his book that he created his own self-hypnotic pet. So basically, Cayliegh, picture this.
Okay.
You're at home. You're like, I could use another pet. So you're able to self-hypnotize yourself into seeing and being able to interact with a pet.
That's not there.
That's not actually there for anyone else, pretty much, except for you.
Okay. Go on.
Would you do it?
Oh, man. I don't know. I'd have to
do it.
Oh, man. I don't know. I'd have to, like, buy it shit. And it wouldn't actually eat it. It'd just be wasted.
I don't know.
See, I'm just thinking, like, logically about
I think if you're at the point of self-hypnotizing yourself to create an animal, I think you might be able to do food. Or maybe, like, it doesn't need it. Or, you know what I mean? I would have to buy food, and it wouldn't eat it.
Food. I gotta get in a fucking bed. I don't want to do that.
That's your first concern. I have to buy food, and it's not going to eat it. Oh, my God.
I guess if you're creating it, it could be technically anything.
Anything.
Yeah, and you could make it. What would you make? What would be your chosen pet? Okay.
Now, any fans of H.P. Lovecraft out there are gonna, I hope I'm saying it right, but Shoggoths, or Shaggoths, as they're also known, but it's traditionally spelled Shoggoth, Shoggoths, for anyone interested in looking that up. They're magical creatures that can be summoned. They could assume whatever form their master wished in order to perform certain tasks, okay? So, Shoggoths, as they get older, become more intelligent and become more rebellious. So, that's something to keep in mind. They also, another thing probably to keep in mind.
Okay, so it might turn on me.
It might turn on you. It might try to kill you.
And how do we know that?
I don't know. That's just that's the lore behind it. That's the legend. But that's...
Okay.
So, what George Estabrooks claims is he creates his self-hypnotic pet polar bear. He created a polar bear. So, of course, your first time creating a pet, why not create one of the deadliest animals in the entire fucking world? A polar bear. Not a kitten. Yeah, fuck it. You know, who couldn't kill you if he wanted to kill you. But here's the thing. Maybe it could kill you no matter what it is. Who couldn't kill you if he wanted to kill you. But here's the thing. Maybe it could kill you no matter what it is. So it doesn't really matter because it's connected to your brain. It's connected to your psyche. It's connected to your mind.
So it can kill you that way.
So maybe it could just self-destruct and take your brain with it. And you're just like in a catatonic state. Who knows? So what he did is he created this polar bear. And he was, it's just a self-hallucination. So he was hypnotizing himself. He claimed for sure, it sounds weird, but it could be done, and it's auto-suggestion, which gives you many strange things. So you had a polar bear. The polar bear would go and do things like fun things, run around, jump over things, blah, 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 like a curious little polar bear.
A happy little polar bear.
Right. And then when he tried to put it away, which is apparently a whole nother area that you can do.
How do you put it away if it's in your mind?
I don't know. I don't know. You can dismiss it.
Okay.
Like some kind of spirit animal, like a familiar or whatever that follows you. You can just dismiss these things.
Like
apparently.
breaking the circle in a ritual or something.
Right. You can put it away and say, okay, you're done now. But eventually, as time went on, this became harder and harder and harder for him to do. And eventually, as time went on, this became harder and harder and harder for him to do. And eventually, it came to the point where he would wake up in the night or whatever, and he would look into a dark corner and see it sitting there staring at him.
Okay.
And
I don't like that.
Yeah, very
unnerving.
Right. So he wouldn't. Before he would do anything he asked, a polar bear would do anything George asked. Jump out of windows 3 stories up. I mean, it didn't matter what it was.
He had complete control over it.
Right, but that started to go away, which with Shoggoth set. So there you go. So he eventually had to banish it the best he could, and after about a month of not seeing the thing popping up randomly without being called on, it was gone from his life, I guess.
That's crazy. Well, and I mean, if that's the case, then it would... That's crazy. Well, and I mean, if that's the case, then it would kind of explain the shadow, the man that haunted that building.
Right. Now,
because if he no longer has control over it, it's just going to do whatever the fuck it wants.
Right, and it's going to scare people.
And if he had no idea what he was doing, because he was into all this, right?
Right. No, I don't. As far as I know, I don't. I don't think you're going to find that information. Was
so
he
just
in the thought forms? But
yeah,
I mean, it would. No, it'd be hard to. I mean, if he was, I'd figure it'd be a little more obvious. But I don't. I
they would have said something about it
on that. I know he was like involved in radio and just did like radio shows, and he became so invested in it. Now he wrote a lot of different things, so I mean he wrote a lot more than a lot of authors today, right? So he was so invested in this character in the same place all the time that people speculate that could have been what happened.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Just kind of insane. So a tulpa. Which is, have I even said tulpa yet? Yeah, I think I've said tulpa.
You did.
I want to be sure people know what I mean by that. Tulpa, this is actually rooted to Tibetan Buddhists. So
it's not like a made-up internet thing or anything.
No. These are actually rooted in... So it has roots outside of crazy people. Whether you think George Estabrooks was insane, which is possible, or he was spot on.
that is a possibility.
That is a
song
possibility.
About, there's a polar bear and I can control it, but now it's staring at me in the corner.
Yeah, now it's kind of just getting a little too creepy. Yeah, now it's kind of just getting a little too creepy for me.
Getting a little weird.
Oh, my goodness.
Getting a little voyeuristic here. I don't like it.
Right.
Go away.
So
you won't go away. Okay.
Here comes the question you posed before. And usually I forget these types of things, but it was so good that I want to actually talk about it.
Yay.
But it was so good that I want to actually talk about it.
Yay.
Let's talk about if you could create your own self-hypnotic pet, what would you do? What would you create and why?
Oh my God.
Keeping in mind that it will rebel
might
against
turn
you.
on you. Yeah.
It will. It absolutely will. These are the patterns.
Might turn on you. Yeah.
It will. It absolutely will. These are the patterns. Well, as far as I know, these are the patterns. Assume that it will.
My original answer was Ninetales.
Okay.
Like a Pokemon.
So yeah, all right.
Because it's anything you want. Why not fucking bring a Pokemon into your fucking brain
true,
world?
Dude. That'd
be
so true.
Fucking awesome. And that thing is a fire Pokemon, and you don't want to deal with that. So I then thought, well, I still want to do Pokemon. So let's bring in Jigglypuff, because I feel like that's the least threatening.
Oh, man, she's more connected to your mind than a lot of other Pokemon.
But, like, she could just put you to sleep and it'd be fine.
That's true.
That would be the creepy... She would stare at you, which...
And then you just
Jigglypuff
die.
just put you to sleep and you'd be fine. And that would be the worst damage.
Correct.
That's my answer. Jigglypuff.
All right. I think I would probably choose, I don't even know, a wolf, I guess, because that's not creepy as hell to be staring at you in the corner with, like, its teeth coming out.
Yeah, or turning on you and mauling you.
Right, but at you in the corner with, like, its teeth coming out.
Yeah, or turning on you and mauling you.
Right, but I love wolves, so worth it.
Ooh, that's a question.
What?
Does it hurt you in real life, or does it just creep you the fuck out? Is it able to physically interact with you and cause you physical harm?
I don't know if physical, but Like I said, maybe mentally it can drive you insane, which is, just as bad, if not worse.
All right, I see what you're saying, Tulpa. I got it.
So, I don't know. Maybe. Leave your comments in the comments below. What are your ideas of that? But also, let's talk about the possibility now. Mothman, like, this is a belief, but I don't know how it could possibly be, because you'd have to have so much, like, build-up. And this self-hypnotic pet doesn't mean that the pet was interacting with other people. Mm-hmm. Maybe it was claimed it was in some instances, or it wasn't in other instances. There's a lot of speculation around this. But Mothman, why? Like who would have created this thing? And why was it impacting other people? Was it an alien? An alien seems to be, if you're going to believe that, okay, there's definitely a Mothman, let's explain it. You're going to have to say, what would you think?
Mm-hmm. Go with that.
You're going to have to say, what would you think?
Mm-hmm. Go with that scenario.
Like an alien? Wouldn't that make the most sense? Because aliens are something collectively most people believe exist.
Yeah, because, I mean, there's a very, very minuscule chance that we're alone, and I don't believe we're alone. That's just my personal minuscule chance that we're alone, and I don't believe we're alone. That's just my personal opinion.
I don't believe we're alone either.
So, but I guess out of all of them, that would probably make the most sense, because like you said, like with bird sightings and stuff, that would just be kind of ridiculous that all of a sudden all these bird sightings are just scaring the crap out of everyone
overnight. Like, why? Mm-hmm. But then that begs the question: was it mass hysteria? Mm-hmm. Because that's suggestion. That's the power of suggestion as well, as people freaking out. One person makes a big deal out of it, and it starts to freak other people out.
And then everything everyone else sees just becomes exaggerated and turns into... You asked how could the Mothman be a tulpa, and I was thinking, well, like collective. But then you brought up the awesome point that where did it come from originally?
Right, who started it?
Who thought of this thing before?
I know. And why was it like... I get if it was a local legend, like it just written down or whatever, someone made up, and then like people talk about it. But it wasn't.
It showed up first. It wasn't talked about first.
Right. Now, could there be kind of like references to a Mothman type creature throughout history? Of course. But that doesn't mean that it was captured in that town and formulated, like, why there? Mm-hmm. But that is another interesting thing you brought up, is when you said, what if a lot of ghosts aren't actually deceased people? What if they're something someone made up, a ghost story that came to life because so many people started believing in it that it gave it power? Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that they struggle with in this supernatural episode also, is that this tulpa... That's something that they struggle with in this supernatural episode also, is that this tulpa, has this outrageous ability and can't really be killed very easily until they start to change the story and start to get people to believe the story or whatever, and then that's when it changes the makeup of this creature. So go ahead.
This whole thing. Yeah, like, this is where you, like, kind of...
The makeup of this creature. So go ahead.
This whole thing. Yeah, like, this is where you, like, kind of... blew my mind. Like, I think earlier I compared it to, okay, this is a tulpa. You, like, introduce me, you walk me into a room with a curtain, and then you're like, but could also be all of these things. And then the curtain flew open and there's a whole fucking house of maze behind it.
Right.
It's just crazy to think about all the possibilities. And imagine all of the writers, any kid who has an imaginary friend, anyone who thinks so hard for such a long time about a certain character or creature that maybe doesn't exist, but
right.
Or if they tell other people about it and they start thinking about it, like, think of how hauntings could form in that way.
Exactly.
Like, a writer creates a character, like you said, and it created like a haunting because other people started seeing this manifestation and it spread from there.
Right. So here's one that might keep people...
Create your own haunting.
I mean, if you sit in bed and you listen hard enough, you're going to hear something that freaks you out. If you're on the edge, you're going to hear something that freaks you out. Now, obviously, 99.999% chance that it's a completely natural occurrence.
Yeah.
I don't think you're making tulpas left and right. But can you imagine, though? Yeah, can you imagine? But they never lasted.
Yeah.
They just immediately phased out, or fizzled out as soon as, like, the moment
I would still just
gone.
play Pokemon all day.
Right. So you'd be like,
I'm still like
Professor
on the Pokemon
Oak would be
thing.
proud.
Oh yeah.
You're just on the Pokemon grind tonight.
Yeah,
You're
it's
like,
great.
no, it's going to be
the best.
Right, exactly. I disagree, but yeah. So,
Okay, then.
yeah, so can you haunt your own house? Can you create something yourself? Can you fear something so much that it becomes a tangible thing? Maybe not for you necessarily, but for someone else. Can you, maybe that's like the instance where the guy, maybe that's like the instance where the guy created the shadow, which is now reports of people seeing the shadow walking around that place. Can you, but it only started showing up once he left, apparently, because he never said anything regarding that he was bothered by this character. So what if it does, because he never said anything regarding that he was bothered by this character. So what if it does show up after you're gone? Your energy leaves and its energy replaces your absence.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It fills the gap, kind of like like water fills an empty space. You know what I mean? It just pours in, kind of like like water fills an empty space. You know what I mean? It just pours in. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, and it doesn't have to be like necessarily something you create out of your own mind. Like if you hear about someone who died in this place and you think about it hard enough and you tell enough people about it, the circumstances of their death, I mean, it manifest if this theory is something that's plausible.
Right. Crazy to think about. So is Mothman
So crazy.
that? Is Mothman
A result.
Was Mothman was Mothman a bird that people saw? A barred owl or whatever it's called?
Yeah, barred owl.
Barred owl, yeah. Became so frantic that it created something in the community. Doubtful that it would happen that quickly, but I mean, really, stranger things have happened in the parapsychology world. Anyway,
One of the theories about Mothman is that he's some sort of angelic or demonic being, which...
Well, especially with the ill omen kind of
idea.
idea.
But, like, what I'm saying is, like, if they think about it hard enough, and this is their version of what an angel or a demon looks like, and it might resemble, like, a mothish-looking man, then that might have been where it originated from, if the Tulpa theory is the one...
showing up, either warning people or just... I'm here, time for shit to get really
what
fucked
up?
Right. So
I'm here.
So many different ways to approach it, but we do know or believe that Point Pleasant has not had much interaction with Mothman since these occurrences. However,
besides the festival.
Besides the festival of Mothman.
Yeah.
But there have been sightings ever since that occurrence all over the world. That people report, I've seen Mothman, and, tragedy has struck or whatever, what people claim, and, tragedy has struck or whatever, what people claim. We can't know.
Yeah.
I kind of wish I was in Point Pleasant at the time.
Yeah.
As stupid as that might sound, but I would, like to be in that position. To be in that position. To be involved with something that crazy, that kind of a story. That's insane. It really is. But it's so cool at the same time. So
it's so cool to think about.
Let us know. I think, have we covered all of our bases on what of angel, demon, alien, maybe a ghost, I don't know, thought form.
Or a bird.
Or something completely logical.
Or an experiment by the government or something.
Yeah, because then you got the Men in Black who show up, which we're gonna possibly save them for another episode. We got a lot to talk about.
Oh yeah,
we got a lot to talk about. So let us know in the comments who you think Mothman is. Do you think Mothman exists? Maybe not, but something freaked all those people out. Yeah, tweet us too. That's a good point as well.
Yeah, tweet us and tell us if you could create your own little tulpa pet. What would you create?
Yeah, we want to know that. I really am interested.
Yeah, I am too. I want to know what other people would...
Scariest of the scary.
It's like, what do I want to create that doesn't exist? Pokemon.
Boom. Done.
Yeah.
Set. There he is. Right in the corner, staring at me with a knife.
God.
So let us know. Tweet us. My Twitter is @TheRobDyke. Cayliegh?
My Twitter is @Cayliegh Elise.
There you go. And our channels are obviously linked on the SoundCloud site. You can check us out on SoundCloud and iTunes every late Saturday night. Slash early Sunday morning. Slash whenever it gets put up. So thank you all so much for listening to this week's episode of ShadowCast. All so much for listening to this week's episode of ShadowCast. And
thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you so much. And we will see you, of course, next Saturday with an episode that I'm not too sure, but we might be interviewing. We might just be interviewing, depending on the equipment situation, because I'm sending equipment to this person because she is just a very, very great source of tremendous information. She has told me that she has a lot of little details about serial killer Dr. Michael Swango. So we're going to make that happen either next or that. Mothman willing. Whatever Mothman is.
Eventually it will happen.
An agent of God, an agent of hell, an alien, a ghost.
An agent of your own mind.
An agent of your own thought forms.
Whoa.
Which kind of doesn't make sense because he is a thought form. Never mind. This episode of ShadowCast getting a little too goofy now. I hope you chilled yourself and try not to haunt your own house tonight.
Please.
If you can, because now that you're aware of it, I don't know. Sorry. It's kind of like, ignorance is bliss, but you're not ignorant anymore.
Don't think about it. You're gonna think about it.
You're gonna think about it a lot tonight, and that's really not the best way to not make a thought. To keep a thought form away is to thinking kind of does that. Apparently, allegedly. Thank you, everyone, again. Thanks,
guys.
Rob and Cayliegh,
Woo.
your creepy entertainers of the week. We'll see you next Saturday.